Every predator learns something hungrier waits. This is Whispering Narratives, where survival isn't promised, and the dark always finds you. The hunt began the night the hunger found us. I was not supposed to lead them. Men don't follow monsters, and I was both. The squad called me Captain Vale, but in the silence of their eyes they knew what I was. They'd seen the claws, the fangs, the blood dripping from my muzzle after too many missions. I wasn't a commander in the human sense. I was the weapon our government pointed at things they couldn't explain. Our orders were always the same: track cryptids, eliminate threats, erase the evidence. Sasquatch, black-eyed children, skinwalkers, things whispered about in firelight but never written in reports. And every time the danger rose beyond rifles or silver rounds, I let the wolf off its leash. They hated me for it. They feared me, but they followed me because no one else survived. That winter, we were sent north, too far north. A mining camp in the Canadian wilderness had gone silent. Dozens missing, bodies found with marrow drained, bones polished as if gnawed by hunger itself. The signs were unmistakable. Wendigo. Even speaking the word made one of my men spit in the snow, whispering a prayer. He said, "You never hunt a Wendigo, you only run, and even then it catches you in your dreams. But orders are orders, and fear doesn't cancel them." So we went. We rode a transport through an endless wasteland of frozen pines and white valleys. The men loaded rifles with silver-tipped rounds, though I knew in my marrow that silver wouldn't matter against this. They carried fire, too, flamethrowers hissing like sleeping serpents. But it wasn't enough. It never is. Inside my wolf stirred. It knew the truth before I admitted it. This mission wasn't about victory. It was about survival. And survival always came at a cost. The cost of trust. The cost of flesh. The cost of becoming. When we set foot in that dead camp, the silence was a weight that pressed into our bones. Buildings half collapsed under snow. A generator still humming weakly, long past fuel should have drained. And then tracks, deep in the snow, impossibly large. Barefoot but not human. They circled the camp. They circled us. One of my men muttered, "Sir, we're already being hunted." He wasn't wrong. I bared my teeth, not as a smile, but as a warning the wolf couldn't hold back. I knew what was coming. The first howl of this cursed hunt hadn't even risen yet, and already the Wendigo was drawing us into its circle. The first howl has marked you. Subscribe now or face the night alone. And then the snow moved. Not the wind, not the weight of drifts collapsing, but something massive crawling just beneath the crust, circling. My men raised their rifles. I raised my head. The hunt had begun. The camp silence was not natural. Snow-muffled sound, yes, but there's always something. Wind through the pines, groan of ice. Here, there was nothing. We swept the shacks and storage sheds with our rifles, barrels quivering under gloved hands. My men moved with training, but their eyes betrayed them, darting into the shadows, expecting something to step out. I caught one of them whispering prayers. Not military protocol, not nerves, ritual. The Wendigo makes men pray, even those who've long forgotten how. We found signs of the miners. Boots abandoned by bunks. A lantern still burning, flame dancing low. A wall clawed with something sharp, the words half frozen in blood. We fed it. I felt my wolf stir again. That gnawing hunger inside my ribcage, the same hunger the Wendigo carried like a crown. But where my hunger ended with the moon's cycle, the Wendigos had no limits. One of my sergeants broke the silence, his voice shaking. "Sir, my grandmother used to tell stories. Said Wendigos start as men who fed on flesh when snow buried the world. And the curse never let go. She said their hunger given form." He swallowed hard, lowering his rifle as if words themselves had weight. "She said if you see one, it already owns you." Another soldier spat in the snow. "Old wives' tales. Monsters don't own me." His bravado rang false. His finger tapped too fast on the trigger guard, but I knew better. Every tale has a root. And roots, when fed blood, grow into forests of truth. The tracks circling camp weren't just watching. They were herding, pushing us deeper into a hunt we didn't control. We gathered in the main hall, its walls groaning under winter's weight. I could smell it then. Rot, marrow, old blood frozen into ice. My wolf snarled from within, not in fear but in recognition. Predator to predator. I tried to steady the squad with orders. Secure the perimeter. Prep fire charges. Lay salt lines at the doors. But soldiers know when orders are for show. The Wendigo was already inside their thoughts, gnawing at them from the inside out. That was the curse. Not claws, not teeth. Hunger. A hunger that spreads like infection. One soldier, Callahan, broke first. He leaned against the wall, muttering too fast, repeating the word feed over and over. His breath fogged in erratic bursts. His pupils dilated wide as if the dark itself were filling him. I reached him too late. His hand went to his pack, fumbling, pulling out rations. Not to eat them, but to offer them, placing food in the snow as if to appease something just beyond the door. We dragged him back, but the damage was done. Fear had a face now. The others looked at me not for orders, but for truth, for confession, so I told them. I spoke the words most commanders wouldn't admit. We are not hunting it. We are surviving it. If you think bullets will save you, you're already dead. They stared, silent. In that moment they knew. Their lives hung not on rifles or fire, but on the beast caged in my own skin. The wolf. Have you heard whispers like these before? Confess below and bind yourself to the tale. Outside, something moved across the rooftops, silent but heavy. A shadow stretched long against the moonlight. We aimed rifles, but no shot came. The thing was gone before any of us breathed. It left only the sound, a hollow, rasping cry that wasn't a howl, wasn't a scream. It was the echo of a stomach, groaning in endless hunger. Every man in that hall shivered, as if his bones had been bitten. I knew then, we weren't prey. We were provisions. The first gunshot wasn't mine. It cracked like thunder across the frozen valley, shattering the silence. One of the younger men had seen movement near the tree line and fired without waiting for orders. His muzzle flash lit the camp in bursts of orange, and in those flashes, I saw it. Tall, antlers jagged as if carved from ice, skin stretched thin over bones pale as frost-burned flesh. Its eyes glowed with the dull light of hunger, blue and hollow, as if the moon itself had rotted inside its sockets. The Wendigo didn't run. It watched, a stillness more terrifying than any charge. The bullet had hit. It didn't matter. Hunger feels no wounds. Then the roof caved. Snow and timber collapsed as the beast dropped onto us from above. It moved like starvation given legs, claws sweeping through wood and flesh alike. One of my men screamed, his chest torn open in a single strike. Blood misted the air, freezing as it fell. Chaos broke. Rifles thundered, men shouting through clenched teeth, salt and fire spraying across the hall. The Wendigo shrieked, not in pain but in anger, the sound bending glass in its frames, and that was when the wolf inside me broke its leash. I had always tried to delay the change, to keep the men believing their captain was still a man, not the thing they feared most. But survival isn't polite. It doesn't wait for moonrise when death is already clawing at the door. My bones shifted first, splintering with sickening cracks. My ribs bowed outward, then reformed wider, pushing breath from my chest in guttural snarls. Fingers lengthened, nails blackening and splitting into claws. The men pulled back as I fell to the ground, trembling, body ripping itself open to reveal the monster underneath. The Wendigo's head snapped toward me. Predator recognizing predator. And for the first time, it moved, it charged. And I rose, my muzzle tore through human skin. A snarl ripping from my throat as fur burst through my flesh like fire through parchment. Vision sharpened, red heat against frozen blue. I met the Wendigo mid-leap, its antlers spearing down. My claws caught them, splintering ice from bone, sparks of frost scattering like shattered glass. The impact rattled the hall, beams cracking, snow collapsing in through the broken roof. The men dove aside, their rifles falling silent as two nightmares collided. The Wendigo's claws raked my side, tearing through fur and flesh alike. Hot blood steamed against the cold. My jaws snapped down, clamping on its arm. It didn't bleed. No marrow spilled. Instead, the taste was wrong. Ash, frozen rot. A hunger that tried to climb down my throat and devour me from the inside. The beast shrieked again, flinging me across the hall. I slammed into timber, bones groaning but holding in their new form. The wolf roared back, louder, more primal. My men weren't sure who to fear more, me or the Wendigo. The fight wasn't just tooth and claw. It was will, my curse against its hunger. my survival instinct against its eternal craving. The Wendigo struck again, but I was faster now, instincts sharpening beyond human reflex. I ducked low, tearing through its leg, forcing it to stumble. The men seized their chance, flame roaring from the nozzle of a thrower. Fire licked across its back, the scent of burning ice filling the hall. It recoiled, not wounded but wary. For the first time the thing hesitated, not afraid but calculating. Hunger does not die. It waits, and then it fled into the night, leaving us with blood, fire, and silence. I stood heaving, chest rising and falling, fur steaming in the cold. The men ringed me, weapons raised not at the Wendigo's path, but at me. They had seen the wolf unleashed, not just hinted. One soldier whispered, "My God." Another muttered, "Not your God, his." The firelight flickered across my muzzle, dripping red. My breath came out in clouds. My eyes glowed in the reflection of theirs. I could feel the bond breaking. I wasn't their captain anymore. I was the thing they'd sworn to hunt, but without me, they were already dead. If this body's betrayal shook you, subscribe before yours tears apart. Mark survival with a sigil of protection. Hit like. The Wendigo's howl echoed from the trees, long and hollow, promising it wasn't retreat. It was waiting, testing. The hunger wasn't finished. It never would be, and neither was I. The Wendigo didn't flee far. Hunger never does. We left the camp behind, its walls charred and splintered, the snow soaked in blood that would never melt. My men moved like shadows now, eyes hollow, rifles trembling in numb hands. Each footstep crunched too loud in the silence, as if announcing our weakness. The cold was worse outside. Frost crept under armor, lips cracked and bled, fingers stiffened on triggers. Even I felt it, wolf flesh stronger than theirs, but not immune to winter's bite. The Wendigo used the cold as another weapon. It slowed us, starved us, made us brittle. We weren't marching anymore. We were being herded. The howls came at intervals. Not mine, not wolf. Hollow bellows stretched thin across the trees, as though the forest itself was hungry. Every time the sound rose, a man flinched, boots slipping, rifles almost firing. The Wendigo knew fear better than we did. It was sculpting it into a blade. When darkness fell, we set camp in the open valley. Flames roared high, our only defense against the swallowing dark. Salt lines traced around the perimeter, though I doubted they'd hold. Rituals meant little against a curse older than men's prayers. Still, men need ritual. It gives the illusion of control. I watched them huddle close to the fire, shadows carved sharp across their faces. One by one they spoke, not orders, not reports, but confessions. "I saw it in the roof," one muttered. "It wasn't moving like a beast. It was watching us, thinking, sir." It took Jensen like he was nothing, tore him apart. He didn't scream long enough. Another clutched a photo of his wife, whispering her name as if the sound could anchor him here. They weren't soldiers anymore. They were men waiting for their names to be written in the snow. I didn't tell them the truth, that I smelled the Wendigo even now, circling us just beyond firelight. Hunger with patience, waiting until our firewood burned low and our blood slowed with the cold. Instead, I stood watch. Wolf eyes pierced the tree line, every shadow shifting, every breath of wind sounding like footsteps. Then the sound came, not from the woods but beneath the snow, a hollow thump. Then another, something tunneling, burrowing under frozen earth. The ground trembled as if something ancient was clawing its way toward us. "Positions!" I roared, voice split between man and beast. The men scrambled, rifles up, fire roaring higher as fuel was thrown. And then the snow broke. It didn't emerge fully, only an arm, thin, skeletal, claws long enough to rake a man's chest open from beneath the earth. It shot up through the salt line, catching one soldier by the leg. His scream pierced the night as he was dragged into the white void. The snow sealed over him before we could even fire. His voice echoed once, then silence. The Wendigo didn't always need to kill. Sometimes it just took, and that was worse. Panic broke. One man fired wildly into the dark, another dropped his rifle and ran. He didn't make it far. His scream was cut short, lost to the trees. I knew then that survival wasn't about standing together. It was about choices. Run or fight, freeze or burn, humanity or the beast, and I I had already chosen. The wolf within clawed at my ribs, urging me to abandon them all. To run into the woods faster than hunger, stronger than men. To leave them as offerings while I lived, but a leader doesn't abandon, even a cursed one. I dropped to all fours, letting the wolf bleed through, fur bristling, claws sinking into frozen dirt. My voice broke into a growl, half-snarled words echoing across the firelight. Where would you run if the claws found your door? Tell me, your answer may decide if you survive. The night didn't answer. Only the trees shifted, shadows bending like ribs around a starving stomach. The Wendigo's hunger pressed in from all sides, and I knew, by dawn, some of us would not remain men. The question wasn't survival anymore. It was how much we'd lose to survive. The fire burned lower. Every snap of wood was another second shaved off our lives. We had lost 3 men to the snow already, their names erased as if the cold itself had eaten them. The rest huddled tighter, staring not at me, not at the rifles, but at the dark wall of trees that pressed against us like a waiting mouth. One soldier, Reyes, the squad's lawman, the one who carried old stories in his bones, finally spoke. His voice trembled, but he forced it steady, like reciting a catechism. My grandfather told me, he said, that Wendigos are men who ate flesh when winter buried the world. The curse hollowed them out. Their hearts froze. Their souls turned to hunger, and now they walk until the earth ends. The others muttered for him to stop, but I let him continue. Truth, even when it tastes like ash, binds men tighter than lies. Reyes's eyes flicked to me. They grow with every bite. Tall as the trees, strong as famine, and you can't kill what's already starved to death 1,000 times. The only way to stop a Wendigo is to consume it, to take its hunger into yourself. The firelight quivered across his face. But that's not salvation. That's damnation. The man who eats the Wendigo becomes it. Silence followed. The snow crackled louder than our breath. One of the others whispered, "Captain, is it true?" I didn't answer at first. My claws dug into frozen dirt, the wolf inside restless. Because I knew. I'd smelled it in the Wendigo's bloodless flesh when I bit it. That taste of ash, that wrongness climbing down my throat, it was trying to plant itself in me, not just to kill me, to join with me. I looked around the circle of faces, men who trusted me enough to follow, but not enough to believe. We are not the first to face it, I told them. Every story you've heard, every bone you've seen polished in the snow, they're warnings, not legends. I let the wolf's voice bleed into mine, low and guttural. And the archive remembers. These stories live because they're true. The squad stared, silent, the fire painting them as shadows. I knew some of them were already breaking. Some would not last till dawn, but in that moment, we were bound, not by command, not by duty, but by the archive of curses, whispered and carried from one frozen generation to the next. The archive is survival. It doesn't save lives. It remembers who died screaming and why. Curses echo, but only the archive endures. Subscribe and add your name before the howl returns. Reyes threw another log on the fire. Sparks rose into the black sky like souls climbing, only to be swallowed by frost. Then came the sound. Not the howl this time. Worse, voices, human voices, whispering from the trees. Familiar voices, Jensen's, Callahan's, even the ones we'd lost hours ago. They called out to us, pleading for help, begging for warmth. The men froze, eyes wide, weapons shaking. The Wendigo wasn't just circling now. It was wearing their voices, trying to lure us into the woods. One man nearly stood, whispering his dead brother's name, tears freezing on his cheeks. I had to snarl to pull him back. My claws left grooves in the snow at his feet, a reminder of which monster was on his side. The Wendigo's hunger wasn't just in its body. It was in its reach, in its mimicry, in the way it made you want to walk willingly into its arms, and it would not stop. I looked to the tree line, the whispers calling, my wolf's hackles rising. Stay in the firelight, I warned. Out there, the archive will write your names in blood. The wind rose, the voices grew louder. The fire shrank, and the Wendigo waited for us to blink. By the third night, we were down to half strength. Some taken, some fled. None returned. The fire guttered low, the wood spent. The cold crept closer, our circle shrinking. The Wendigo knew it. The hunger was patient. It wanted us weak before it feasted. I could smell it then, closer than ever. The trees no longer shielded it. It moved openly now, dragging its claws against the frozen trunks, marking its claim, and then the ground gave way. We fell into a ravine, snow collapsing beneath us like the earth itself had conspired with the beast. Men tumbled, weapons scattered, bodies bruised against ice. The Wendigo had herded us here to its chosen place. The ravine was a grave of bones, antlers, skulls, spines gnawed hollow, generations of victims laid bare beneath the ice. And at the far end of the pit, it stood. The Wendigo rose taller than I had seen before, shoulders brushing the cliffs, antlers branching like a crown of famine. Its hollow eyes burned with blue fire. Its breath hung in the air, freezing before it touched the ground. It stepped forward, slow, deliberate. Hunger had led us here. Now it would claim us. My wolf surged. Bones cracked, fur split skin. Pain rippled through me as the curse dragged me fully into its shape. Claws scraped against ice, steam rising off my body in the freezing dark. The men backed away, rifles raised not at the Wendigo but at me. I ignored them. This was no longer their fight. It was mine, beast against beast, curse against curse. The Wendigo lunged first, claws raking stone as it charged. I met it head-on, our collision splitting the ice, echoing through the valley like thunder. Its antlers gouged my shoulder, flesh tearing. My claws ripped into its ribs, but they found no heart, only emptiness, a cavern of endless hunger. It shrieked, hollow and deafening, and flung me against the wall of bone. I hit hard, skulls splintering beneath my weight. But I rose again. Always rise. The men fired, muzzle flashes sparking against the ice. Bullets struck, fire roared, but the Wendigo barely faltered. It absorbed pain like fuel, moving faster, hungrier, its claws slicing men apart as easily as tearing parchment. Their screams echoed through the ravine, feeding the hunger further. I leapt again, jaws snapping on its neck. The taste was ash rot and frozen marrow. It clawed into me, but I held fast, ripping, snarling until the air filled with the sound of tearing sinew and cracking bone. The beast staggered, but it did not fall. Hunger cannot fall. Reyes shouted over the chaos, his voice ragged. Consume it! It's the only way. The archive's warning. The curse's price. The wolf inside me howled, not in rage, but in agreement. If I bit deeper, if I swallowed its hunger, I could end this. But what would I become? The Wendigo lunged once more, claw arcing down. I caught it mid-strike, jaws widening, muzzle splitting wider than flesh should allow. And I bit. The scream that followed was not its own, not mine. It was both. Hunger meeting hunger. Curse merging with curse. Its body convulsed, blue fire spilling from its eyes, antlers cracking and dissolving into frost. I tore through it, devouring the thing that could not be killed. Its form collapsed into snow, into bone, into silence, and then stillness. The ravine held only us, me, steaming in the cold, the last survivors trembling with rifles raised. Their faces were pale, not with cold, but with realization. I wasn't just wolf anymore. My eyes glowed yellow, streaked with hollow blue. Hunger gnawed inside me, deeper, stronger. The Wendigo's curse had joined the wolf's. I looked at them, and for the first time I wasn't sure if they were men or meat. The curse doesn't end here. Follow the howl. The next body falls on screen now. The survivors clutched their rifles. And I walked into the snow, the new hunger burning in my veins, knowing this story was not an ending, only the first chapter of something far worse. The snow swallowed the ravine behind us. We climbed back toward the tree line in silence, boots dragging, breath shallow. Each survivor carried more than wounds. They carried the weight of what they had seen, of what I had become. Reyes wouldn't look at me. His eyes stayed fixed on the snow, lips moving in some forgotten prayer. The others clutched their rifles like talismans, knowing they wouldn't stop me if the hunger turned. The truth was simple. The Wendigo hadn't died. It had shifted. It had moved into me. The hunger gnawed like frost inside my bones, whispering every second. The wolf had always been a beast of instinct, moon-driven, blood-marked. But the Wendigo, its hunger was clever, patient. It didn't scream for release. It whispered bargains. You can keep them alive. Just take one. Just a taste. I clenched my claws until blood ran hot across the snow. A leader protects his men, but a curse doesn't care about loyalty. A curse feeds, and they knew it. When dawn broke, the world didn't feel brighter. The light only revealed how empty the land truly was. Miles of forest, no camp, no road. Just us and the thing inside me. One soldier finally broke the silence. "Sir, are you still—" "You," I turned to answer, but the words died. My breath steamed blue. My eyes burned hollow. I saw their fear flare like fire, their hands tightening on triggers. I could kill them all before the smoke cleared. I knew it, they knew it, but I didn't move. I just looked at them, the hunger chewing inside me, and said the only thing that mattered. Run. If you live, carry this story. Let it bind you. Some hesitated, others obeyed, boots crunching as they fled into the endless white. That left me alone, claws dripping, fur steaming in the weak sun. The wolf howled once, a sound that shook the pines. But it wasn't my voice anymore. It was the Wendigos too, two predators, one throat. I had led a squad into the hunt. I was the only one who left it. But survival was not victory. Survival was just the beginning of the curse. The pack grows stronger with every whisper. Join the pack, subscribe, and spread the curse before it finds you. At Whispering Narratives, we don't just tell stories. We open doors to the shadows. And sometimes, those shadows reach back. If you're still here after this one, subscribe before the next full moon. And share this if you still believe in mercy.